Hello, friends and enemies. It's me, V. Anyone who has said that, you know, words don't hurt has never been a girl, period. Because there's one of two things. Either you're told you're beautiful throughout your childhood, and then you grow up and you're, that fades, or you grow up ugly and you've always are told you're ugly by people with their actions. Sometimes you're ugly and you become cute. Some of you are probably wondering, where the hell is this story going? I'm trying to say to you, words do fucking hurt. Now, what I'm going to say, as I should preface, is the thoughts and opinion of myself, and not the thoughts and opinion of my current job. So let's talk about it. I am currently in my feelings because I heard a guy talk about this other girl, this other woman, and was like, oh, she's so pretty, blah, blah, blah. Then he sees me, because he sees her and it's like, oh, you're so pretty, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, hey, Veronica. And then goes right on to this other woman and starts talking about how gorgeous she is. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I didn't have a beard when I was a kid. But I had people who made sure to tell me by their praises of my best friend, Shannon, later my best friend and still best friend, Aaron. Two different women, two different girls, how pretty they were, how Shannon had the good hair, how Aaron was so lovely and nice and kind. And then they would go and talk to me and be like, you run a lot. You're too bossy. You're too boyish. You should know better. You're motherly. That's the stuff I was taught, or rather I was told. Not by family, not by my parents or my sister. No. We're talking family members and also mostly school. And by school, I mean teachers. And 2022 has been me trying to get over my anger and forgive. And it's really hard. Because when you're told you're fat, and mind you, I didn't get fat until second grade, and that's because I ended up needing my inhaler more, and I wasn't going outside because of where we lived and everything. And also some stuff that had gone on with my cousin and some other stuff. And I got bigger, and all people did was talk, I was fat. I was Veronica the hippopotamus. There was a book called Veronica the hippopotamus. And I remember I was in kindergarten when kids would laugh and call me Veronica hippopotamus. Didn't understand why. And then as I got older, I realized in second grade or first grade, they said there's a book that they read called Veronica the hippopotamus. They read it in the second grade, the second graders. And so the second graders, every second grader would laugh and call me Veronica the hippopotamus. And I got bigger and bigger. Age 16, found I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. But I never forgot the nicknames, being called fat chunks. I had a whole rant video where I went off on the school nurse, her son. I said I hope she got long-term COVID because I was angry. Here's why I was angry. I'm going to tell you two stories that actually happened. Now, looking at it, I'm like, no, I shouldn't wish long-term COVID. And I'm going to tell you what her son did. Her name was Mrs. Sorensen from Shorewood. Her son's name was Peter. I was in classes with Peter. I think it was first or second grade. I got on her shit list because I was running and I hit my head. So I went to the nurse. She was like, you have a concussion. You need to go home. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. She's like, you need to go home. So she calls my mom. My mom comes from work. My mom says to me, do you want to go home? Do you feel okay? Blah, blah, blah. Now, my mom is a nurse. She's a fucking nurse. This woman, I don't know if this woman was or is a nurse. I mean, she was a school nurse. So who knows? And so she, Susan, who I learned to dislike that name, my mom's like, okay, well, she Veronica says she wants to stay, so she'll stay. My mom goes to leave. Susan thinks that my mom is down the hall. Something told my mom you should stick around. Susan then tears into me, telling me that I should go home because I have a concussion and I don't know what I'm doing. And my mom popped her head in and said, "Excuse me." This child, this 7-year-old, said that she's fine. And if she's fine, she's fine. I know the signs of concussion because I'm a nurse. And if my kid says she's fine and she's not displaying those symptoms, then guess what? I'm going to trust her because she knows she can talk to me. So Susan says, okay, does that little Karen thing, fucks off. 4th grade, her son Peter is a dick. I hope Peter's in prison. I don't give a fuck. I hope he's in prison. Peter starts a rumor about a girl and calls her a slut and a whore. All these boys, who are all white, are coming after this girl who is Mexican. They're calling her ignorant, stupid. They are telling her that she's a dumbass. They are saying she can't read. They're calling her a slut, a bitch, a whore. She gets upset and she's like, don't you ever fucking call me stupid or a bitch. Susan the cunt comes down and starts saying, I'm going to have you expelled. I said, wait a minute, the boys were starting stuff. The bitch turns to me and her ugly ass goes, how dare you, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And some of you are like, oh, don't call her ugly. Look, let me finish the story and then I'll get back on that little thing of why I said what I said. She continues. The principal comes down, Mr. Jeffers. He doesn't want to hear the whole story. It's me, some other girls, and Amanda. Amanda's pissed. I am trying to say, hey, those boys were calling her bad names. Susan, the cunt, says, I'm going to go and have you expelled if you don't behave. Blah, blah, blah. Peter is laughing his little blonde-haired Aryan ass off while this dark-haired brunette bitch is just doing whatever. Now, I'm saying she's a bitch. I'm saying she's a cunt because her actions were very cunty. Now, some of you will say, how dare you? You shouldn't call her. You shouldn't say this and that. And one of the things I want you to realize from my point of view is I've never really had people stick up for me. When people have said horrible shit to me while using microaggressions like Susan did, no one stuck up for me because it was all white people except for Amanda and me. And some people I don't think understand what it's like when you don't have people defend you, when you are supposed to take words that people say, when people call you ugly, when people say this, that, and the other. So many people are like, well, let them. Words don't have any meaning. Bullshit. I just called Susan a cunt and a bitch and ugly. And I'm willing to bet somebody in the comment section is telling me off saying, you don't know her. That's a mean, horrible thing to say. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm willing to bet that you're kissing this woman's ass and you don't even fucking know her. But me, you're going to probably tell me that I'm a horrible person and that I should give her the benefit of the doubt. But I want you to take that and say, what biases am I putting into this woman's story? This woman is telling me a story of how she was mistreated by people while going to an entirely almost all white school. How would that shape her life? Maybe I should just sit there, shut the fuck up, and listen to the story instead of trying to do mental gymnastics to explain the racism that this woman had and explain it and tell her that, no, your opinion isn't right. Even though I was never there and I never experienced it, I know what's best. Or I'll tell you about my old gym teacher. I'm going to call him Mr. Childs. That's not his real name, but that motherfucker. Whoo, Mr. Childs. That's not his real name. Mr. Childs hated me. Why did Mr. Childs hate me? Oh, there were certain things. Let's see. I got sexually molested while I was in gym class because he was my gym teacher from 1st grade all the way to 7th grade. So he did middle school as well as high school, I later found out, and elementary. He was like Mr. Feeney. Creepy as fuck. Mr. Childs did not like the fact that I did not tell him that I had been sexually molested by a classmate. Mind you, that this is a man. Mind you, it was a substitute teacher during that time, and Mr. Childs wasn't in on that fucking day that I was sexually assaulted. And mind you, I don't owe you a damn thing. I'm gonna tell my mom and my dad, because guess what? I fucking trust them. So my parents talked to Mr. Jeffers, the principal, said, do not talk to Mr. Childs, handle it. Mr. Jeffers said, I will, and he told Mr. Childs. Mr. Childs then had me come out of class and berated me by saying, why didn't you tell me, Veronica? You should have told me. Why did you keep that in? Who the fuck gave you the right to tell me what I can't tell you about somebody doing to my body? Sir, you weren't there that day. It was a fucking substitute. You want me to just wait? I'm sorry, no. No, the fuck I won't. Mr. Childs also knew that I was an asthmatic. Sometimes I would forget my inhaler. You want to know why I don't take my inhaler? Because Mr. Childs, in his infinite fucking wisdom in the 90s and early aughts, said, you don't need to go get your inhaler, Veronica. Just breathe in deeply. And there would be times where I couldn't breathe. And he was telling me just to breathe through it. I never forgot that. Then he harbored what happened when I was in second grade. I remember there was a time where we were on the tabletop or whatever, and this guy spit, and I had something in my mouth, so I spit, and he's like, oh, that's disgusting. Wipe it with your shoes. So he made me wipe it with my shoes, and he was like, that's so disgusting. Why would you do that? Ugh, Veronica, that's not appropriate. So I'm wiping this with my sneakers. So the spit, I am taking it, and then I just have to put it in the thing. Meanwhile, Vincent, the guy that spit, his spit's still there. Nothing was done. And then let's talk about fifth grade. Fifth grade, it was me, Talisha, and some other people. He was going through a thing, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of wasting our time. I didn't say it out loud. Talisha said it out loud. Talisha's black. I'm black. I think there were a few other black people in the class, but I remember this white man, Mr. Braby. Fuck, it was Mr. Braby. Mr. Braby took this thing, that you know, like a binder that you clip it, the clipboard. He took the clipboard and he's like, oh, I'm wasting your time. We're wasting Veronica's time, everybody. And then he chucked it at me and it slid across the gym floor. And then he came up to me and said, how dare you say I waste our time? And he kept saying it until he said, yeah, I was going to say something, but after I saw what he did, no. So Mr. Braby, fuck you to the highest degree. Add to the fact the creepy shit you were doing to us. Sir, do you really want to fucking go there? And when I say creepy shit, this is a kind of creepy shit. If you are an adult man and you are around third grade girls and fourth grade girls, maybe not rub our backs. Knowing that we have bra straps and everything and commenting on that. That's fucking inappropriate. And he singled the only gay guy who was in the school. He made sure to touch that guy. Everybody, all the other boys, he made sure not to do anything to. Or let's talk about the gym assembly, where I was in fifth grade. The fourth graders were holding a gym play. They were holding a play. And these girls and boys, they were like talking about forestry. And they're like, sometimes a log, how do you make sure that this log gets down the river? So they all were laying on their backs. And then each kid would roll on top of the other kid. And they would laugh. And they're talking about all these logs. And then this thin-ass white man says, and sometimes a big log comes down. And then he rolls on top of the fourth grade kids. All of us were laughing. But at the same time, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I think about that. And this whole thing is me trying to forgive people, but at the same time, salt the earth and have my truth told. And am I in a don't give a fuck mood right now? You bet your ass. Or the fact Mr. Jeffers, the principal, which used to yell because I would run constantly and told my mom she runs a lot. Well, motherfucker, I might have autism ADHD. So maybe that's the reason why I was constantly running, because I didn't have any fucking energy and didn't know how to express myself, since everybody was already talking shit about the fact I was ugly. I didn't really talk. And then when I did talk, I didn't really know how to communicate with other people and always was made to feel awkward and weird. Who knows? Maybe any of those things. Maybe you guys as adults should leave your implicit biases the fuck home. Maybe you guys shouldn't be so microaggressive when it comes to teaching kids who are not white. Maybe you guys should have fucking retired. Hopefully, I hope to God you retired. I hope all of you retired and you're just fucking off into the sunset. Because at this point in time, I shudder thinking about any other children that you have helped teach. Anyway, after letting go of that, I released the chaos into the atmosphere. And as always, fuck Tom Brady.